Hello.
Hi, Courtney. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not nervous. I'm excited, but what made me nervous was you asking for a password. I was like, oh my God, is the link like not working? So I just,
No, I think the link does work. It's just because I couldn't get on it on my laptop because I didn't have the right browser or something. So I just
okay.
copied the meeting ID into my laptop and then it asked for a password. So I think if you have that link, you don't need the password. I think it's just,
Okay.
yeah, sorry. Oh my God, it's sorry
No,
for freaking
no,
you
because
out.
I was like, did I fuck up the link?
No,
Like,
it's me. It's my browser. Don't
no.
worry.
How are
Um,
you? How's everything? How's life? How was your day?
You know what? It's good. It's good. I'm not long back from being away for like traveling for like 10 months. I'm just like adjusting back to being in Scotland, which is just, it's
Yeah.
cold and
A
stuff.
lot more rain and less
Yeah,
sunshine, and it's grey
of
in
course. So,
UK.
yeah, but it's fine. Do you know how many people are coming?
So my friend, one, two, three of my friends are definitely coming. I
Cool.
asked two of my other friends to come as well, but they're doing like clinical placement, so they'll try their best to like make time to come.
Right.
And I've literally posted everywhere. Like this is like my first event where I had to like promote it. So I
Right.
literally went on Facebook. I've messaged schools, I've messaged like every company to do with like blackness and black arts and creativity and all that stuff. I messaged like every black society, like university society in Scotland and some in the UK. Like I literally really went ham
Yeah.
for promotion. So hopefully, I really want people to come because this is like an amazing experience, like listening to someone like you and being able to talk to someone like you as well. So yeah, like I even like posted on my timeline, and I never do that, but I posted on my timeline just trying to advertise this, trying to use my connections with my friends as well. So yeah, hopefully people do come.
Cool, cool. I'm just hoping my lighting's okay. It's so dark. My flat is so dark. So Um, I've just got like this little light. I try and
Honestly, I think I need to invest in
spotlight.
that. Like looking at these energy prices, I'm like, oh no, we need to get candles
Yeah,
out.
candle.
We need to like go like how we have to do what they did in the Victorian era, candles, natural sunlight. Yeah, because I saw my energy bill and I was like, oh, it was
Crazy.
bad.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah. So
no.
about your travel, so you went to Barbados, right?
No, so I went to where did I go? So I went to Mexico, I went all around Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, yeah. And then I ended up in California for a bit and then I came home. So it was ten whole months of just like
That's
travel with
so
me and my
cool.
backpack.
Solo
Like,
traveling.
pardon?
Solo traveling.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. All on my own, yeah.
Oh. So
Yeah.
you were having your main character moment
Oh
for 10
yeah,
months. That's
totally. I
amazing.
needed it. I needed just to like get away and just be free, just like
Yeah.
performing, no nothing, just being me in this
Yeah.
like exploring these new places and just being somewhere else. It's so important,
Yeah.
I think.
I think that's especially when you're burnt out, like having a drastic change in scenery is like something that can really, like, as you said, just heal you
Yeah.
after you've been like overworked and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I was so
that's
burnt out and I didn't even realize how burnt out I was. It's not until you're in that space of like you're able to relax and everything that you're like, oh my God, like I had such bad burnout. It becomes normal. You don't realize, do you, until you're actually,
yeah.
you know,
Until like you have nothing to distract you and you're like, oh. Why do I feel empty and low and miserable?
Why are my adrenal glands like flaring up all the time? Like,
Literally.
you know?
Literally, yeah. So did you
No.
learn Spanish on your travels?
Oh gosh. So I really you know, I was practicing all the time, and then I got to Costa Rica where I was for the longest time, and everybody there speaks English. So I just
Oh,
like forgot all the
yeah.
time. I've got the basics, but you know, I was starting to get a little bit better, and then I just, you know, everybody speaks English, so I just like forgot it all. So now
Yeah.
my Spanish, I'm just back to like really beginner level, but it's
I
fine,
mean,
you know.
it's fine. At least we tried.
I
So
tried. I tried.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what
So
matters. Let me see what my friend's doing. Um, so my friend just asked if is it on the site. I'll just message her really quickly. Um, but yeah, like so traveling, I think that especially when you're young, I think that's like something everyone should do, like take a sabbatical and just like experience
oh my
different
God.
cultures and
You
stuff.
have to. You
Yeah.
have to. It's just like such an important part of just growing, isn't it, as a person?
Yes.
Just to like get out and just see the world, you know? I think especially after being cooped up for so long with the whole
Yes. With
2020
COVID.
fiasco, you
Oh
know?
God,
You
yeah.
know? You need
That's
that like,
crazy.
yeah, that freedom. So
Yeah,
are,
exactly.
are you a medical student, did you say?
Yeah,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that must be hard. That must be tough, man.
It is really tough. I was in dermatology clinic today and I actually wanted to jump out the window. I was like,
Oh no.
this is so boring. It's literally like they'll show you like a black speck on the skin and they ask you to describe it, diagnose it, management plan. You have to use all these big words like, oh, it's vesicular and the it's macular papular and there's
Oh
some
my
sort
God.
of melanoma, malignant transform, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't do it's just oh Chile, the ghetto, but we move, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it sounds like a lot. Sounds like
Yeah.
a lot. Um,
It's fine.
so are you just kind of gonna record it and like
Oh
you're
yeah, is that okay? It started automatically
yeah, yeah,
recording.
yeah, no worries. And is that like gonna be somewhere where people could watch it if they wanted
Yeah,
or right, I get you. Yeah,
definitely.
cool.
So my friend said, oh, okay, they're both downloading the Zoom app, but they'll be here. No, they'll be really happy to see you because um oh, do you know my friend oh God, I forgot his name. This is embarrassing. One of my friends DM'd me saying, "Oh my God, like she's amazing," because I put you on my
Oh,
story. Yeah. He was like, "Oh yeah, she's amazing." This is so embarrassing. I think I've got like dementia because I have the worst memory
oh
ever.
no.
It's so bad. It's actually embarrassing. His name, oh God. Okay, we've got Ose. Ose's here.
Cool.
Okay. Hi, Ose. This is Courtney.
Hey, Osei.
But yeah, one of my friends said that he saw you perform last week in Glasgow at the Woman King screening, and he
Oh
said that you're
yeah.
amazing.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I did perform at that. It was my first performance after having been back, and I was like, oh my God, you
Oh
know,
my God,
my first performance in almost a year, you know, so I was like, whoa, but it was, I mean, it was, I can't remember it because I sometimes black out when I'm performing, but
it was like a
I'm glad you
trauma like
enjoyed it.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, don't remember. No, but I definitely would have come to see you in Glasgow. Do you have any more performances?
So I just signed up for, so I did that one, and then I did another one, which was also at Glasgow Film Theatre just on Monday night. So what day are we on? It's Wednesday, isn't it? So yeah, 2 nights ago. And I haven't like agreed to anything else yet because I just need to have, that was like my first week back and I just hit the ground running just
Yeah,
with loads of
women are
stuff.
skin screening. That's big.
Intense. It was intense. So yeah, I just wanted to just take a little bit of time just to kind of adjust. And I've got this poem coming out with the BBC for their centenary, so that's going to be all over the radio in a couple.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
So it just got announced today, so I'm now allowed to talk about it, but I've still not shared it on my Instagram or anything yet. But so I'm kind of just allowing that to just flow me into my next thing, whatever that is.
That's amazing.
So.
Okay, I think we're expecting one more person, but if you want, we can start now if you would like.
I'm happy to wait, or it's really up to you, whatever you would prefer.
Okay, let's start now because I think my other friend is coming soon.
Okay.
So basically, I just have to like talk through very quickly the format because John was like, you have to talk about the format, you have to talk about this. Okay. And he gave me like a really long script, which I'm really appreciative of. But so basically we have Courtney with us. As you heard, she's doing amazing things. She's a poet, she's a writer, she's written this piece for the BBC for their centenary, which is insane. She is very nice as well, so that's always a plus. So the format of the workshop is going to be 5 to 10 minutes getting into the industry. So Courtney's going to be discussing her journey through the industry and lessons that she's learned on the way. Also a lesson of the craft, just deep dive into Courtney's craft and how she sort of formulates her craft and sort of uses learning outcomes to sort of guide her when she's making her art. Also, very importantly, she's going to be talking about protecting your own creative artistry. So being aware of the industry, and also just just looking at different topics such as imposter syndrome and burnout, something me and Courtney were talking about earlier. So she has a lot of amazing things to say about that. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Does that sound good, y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the crowd goes wild.
No, this is great. I love
this.
That
sounds good.
Okay, I'm gonna fade into the background. Okay, you take it away, Courtney.
Okay, cool. So I've just got myself on the little, I don't know if you guys can see me, right?
I can see you. Can
you?
Okay,
cool. I'm so terrible with technology. Just a moment, and I'm just gonna get my little notes up. So I think I can just make this screen small. And yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, thank you for the introduction, Maureen, and thank you for outlining the structure. So yeah, I feel like what I'm gonna do is just the little introduction about me, lessons of the craft, and then protecting your own creative industry. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background and kind of how I got to where I am today. And so yeah, just starting right from the very beginning. In primary school, I was really shy and I really struggled making friends and fitting in, and growing up mixed race in Scotland was just so challenging for me, being in this predominantly white environment, where Edinburgh's a lot more multicultural today than it was. I'm 28, so it was like well over 20 years ago. It was a lot whiter than it is now, and so of course that brought with it all these myriad of difficulties. And so in my teenage years, I changed quite dramatically from being this very, very shy child who struggled with communication, to being this total rebel, really, because I felt so shunned by the school system and by the people around me. I just felt so unsupported, that I really started to embody that archetype of the rebel and kind of combat and fight with the structures around me. And this led to me attending 4 different high schools, and always with this theme that I just didn't fit in, and that I couldn't be part of the sort of status quo. And it was like every group I tried to assimilate into, it would always somehow end up with me coming to the realization that I just didn't belong there. And so this led to me leaving school with no qualifications at 15. And eventually I did a sort of passport to university course when I was around 20. And, that was me on my sort of pathway to getting my first degree. And so my first recognized qualification was actually a university degree, which I always find really, really hilarious. And also, for the people out there who do leave school at 15 with no qualifications, there's always hope. There's always a way that you can get yourself out of, the situations that seem like you have no future, because that's how I felt for a really long time, was that, because I didn't have those school qualifications or whatever, that I wouldn't be able to live the life that I wanted to live. And so, I just think it's such an important point for people. It's like, it's not the end. Just because you don't do well at school or whatever, it doesn't mean that it's the end for you. And so going back a little bit, around the age of 19, I started writing poetry, and I was in this really dark place at the time, and I had so many difficulties and addictions. And, I remember one day I just started writing, and I was probably at one of my lowest points. And from there, that was me. I'd found this really deep catharsis and therapy within this form of expression. And I had always been very creative and artistic when I was young, but, and I loved reading. That I'd somewhat kind of lost that by my teenage years. And at the age of 19, I was like reclaiming that lost aspect of myself, which is really an intrinsic part of who I am, as a soul, as a human. I love to create. And so I continued writing. And at the age of 24, my friend, Nova Scotia, The Truth, she goes by. You've maybe heard of her. She's a wonderful artist. She invited me to perform at one of her album launches. And because she knew I wrote poetry, but, I'd never had the confidence to really perform it. And so I had this kind of large body of work behind me, but just never had shared it beyond, friends, really. And so I'd been writing for around 5 years at that point, but never performed in an official setting. And so that initial performance then just led to my career just snowballing. One gig just led to another, and it was kind of crazy looking back on it. Actually, it all just happened so fast. And so I didn't have that kind of classic poet experience of doing lots of open mics and getting all of that practice in. So I was really just learning on the job, which, like everything in life, has its pros and its cons. And since then I've gone on to win a fair amount of awards and performed internationally at festivals and all sorts of things. And I performed in front of thousands and thousands of people, and been published in pamphlets and anthologies. And I'm not sure what, as that tiny little girl who was so shy of everything, I'm not sure if I would have believed that this is what, awaited me in my future, because I was so incredibly shy and introverted. But, I think I would have been astounded with everything that's happened since then. And I feel like life has just this incredible way of surprising us. So the message from that is like, never doubt what you're capable of and what life has in store for you. And so now you know a little bit about me. Let's talk poetry. And I was going to ask, like, out of interest, like who's interested in poetry, either like writing or performing or reading. And I can't actually see the Zoom screen right now. So if you feel like sharing, like, yes, I'm interested in poetry, then feel free to like put it in the chat or say it out loud, whatever works for you.
I think Eden, yeah, she does poetry and it's really good.
Oh, amazing. That's so
Eden's
cool.
awesome.
So that's really cool. We've got some poets in the house. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit, like, what is poetry? And, to me, poetry is, it's self-expression, it's thoughts, it's emotions, it's feelings, it's words like put down on paper, whether to be shared or to be kept secret, in a diary. Poetry is really whatever, you want it to be, and there's no rules, there's no limitations. And I think one of the main misconceptions about poetry is that it has to follow this certain structure or this certain form, and that just simply isn't the case. And in fact, sometimes what can make poets so exciting or unique is that they haven't had that. And for me personally, I'd had no formal training or background, etc., in poetry until much later in my career, when I'd already, received kind of recognition for my work. And you don't need formal training to be a poet, is what I'm trying to say. And that being said, for anybody who's looking to like broaden their sort of poetic horizons, I would say, like, make sure whatever it is that you're consuming stimulates you, whether that's what you're reading, what you're listening to, or what you're watching. Try to be aware that that is aiding in formulating everything that you are and how you see and interact with the world around you. So it's like, make sure that what you're ingesting is good for you, and it makes you think, it makes you question, and it isn't just mindless, brain numbing entertainment. And I feel like, of course, we can all be partial to that at times, but it's about making sure that the entirety or the majority of what you intake is something that assists you in thinking critically. And poets, artists, storytellers, etc., they're all observers. We observe our reality and we dissect it, and then we resurrect it into this new thing. And that's truly a gift. So if you're listening to this and that resonates with you, and you're like, yes, that's me, I do that, then treasure it and hone it, because really it is such a gift to be able to do that. And equally, if you're listening and you're like, oh, that it doesn't feel like me, but I want to develop that, then go with it, and read and watch the world around you and take notes and start writing and start exploring different techniques, from how you put your words together to playing with how they look on a page. Because the fact that you're feeling drawn to poetry as a medium means that you have that potential to be a poet, to write poetry. We're all creators, and we're all imbued with numerous talents, which are latent within us, and they're just waiting to be unearthed if we just give them that chance. And really, I do believe there's never anything really stopping us from achieving our deepest desires and our deepest dreams. And I think one of the reasons poetry is such an incredible art form is because of its simplicity. It's literally just words and rhythm, and though it's simple, it has such a powerful impact. And I feel like it's one of the most, it's the most basic form of communication is speech, and, or writing. And, simple is powerful. We don't have to dress things up in this really complex way for them to come across, in a powerful, impactful, for it to have that powerful, impactful reach. And poetry has long been used, like many art forms, as protest, as a form of rebellion, a way to criticize and to understand the world that we share and we inhabit. And it's such a wonderful way to be able to see yourself and to self-actualize and to become witness to who you really are. And I feel like one of the pitfalls of this stage of humanity's evolution is that we overthink. And we're chronic overthinkers, and so I feel like writing and poetry is just such a fantastic way to create that space within that proliferation of thought, all those thoughts racing around your head all the time. It gives you space to be able to recognize ourselves on a deeper, more subconscious level. And the power that comes from seeing your words written down on a page is immeasurable, because it just gives you that space. It allows you to extrapolate and extract from all of those thoughts and go, okay, this is useful, I'm going to keep this, or this is useless, why am I thinking this, get this out of my head. It's such a great filter. And I think that's really the sort of crux of what I wanted to touch on today, is that there's so many artists out there who are all doing like the exact same thing, who all dress the same, who talk the same, who say the same things, and who are peddling a certain image of what is cool or what is deemed to be popular for the current time. And of course, I can't speak for other people. I can only say what I see, but what I really think is so important is that we and also what is so incredibly difficult to do is to be yourself. It's so hard. And I feel like the majority of people on the planet right now have like internalized that who they are at their core isn't okay. And so I just invite you to think about that for a moment. Like, think about all the times you felt that you weren't enough, or you've been told that that either, you know, directly or indirectly. And, you know, I can bet that almost everybody has it at one time in their life felt that, and that doesn't help to like encourage artists to share their work. And I think it's so sad when we think about how many artists or poets, etc., will never share their work. You know, it will never see the light of day because they don't believe it's good enough. And, you know, when we're comparing it to, you know, so many other artists out there, and they're all saying the same things, they're all saying, I'm not good enough, I'm pretending to be someone else, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It's like, you know, of course you'll have artists that overlap and there's similarities and crossovers, but ultimately everybody has a unique voice and something unique to share, and no two artists really are ever going to be the same. So yeah, I just really encourage just anyone who's listening to this out there in the world, you know, just to share their unique voice in whatever way feels natural to you. And that's how you leave an imprint on the world. You know, you don't leave an imprint or a legacy by pretending to be somebody else. And, you know, it's by honoring who you are and the unique gifts that you have to share. That's how you leave a lasting impression, whatever that looks like, you know. And so you might be saying, well, you know, how in this world where I've been told by every advertising agency, by every magazine, by Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Netflix, whatever it is, you know, that I'm not good enough, you know, how can I find that essence of who I am and that unique spark, and what do I have to do to uncover that? And, you know, it's really about taking that time to cultivate your inner garden, your inner world, you know, what truly excites you, like where do you want to travel, you know, where do you want to go, like all of these things inform our art. And, you know, the way I perceive it is like your art is never truly separate from you. Like how can it be? Like our art is an outpouring of our expression, and therefore everything we do is our art, and everything that is our art is also a reflection of us. And so, you know, practically, like what can we do to ensure that while we're creating we maintain our integrity? And, you know, I really think it's, you know, we connect to our emotions. There are navigators in this world. You know, we connect to our heart, to our passions, what lights us up. And, you know, if you're creating from a space of you know, I want validation, or, you know, I need the remarks of others to make me feel good, then, you know, forget it. If you're creating from a space of, you know, I want to be famous, and, you know, that's the only reason I'm creating, then again it's like forget, because it's not your true expression. You know, that always comes from a place of wounding when we're seeking that external validation. You know, it's not coming truly from within in that sense, and it won't really bring you happiness either, because it doesn't, you know, even if you do manage to like manifest that in your reality, you know, just look at like so many celebrities are miserable. They're totally miserable. And, you know, attention doesn't equal worth, visibility doesn't equal worth. And so, you know, when you're creating, you have to be creating for you first, and for the love of it, for the love of your craft, of your expression, for the love of yourself and what you're doing. And secondary to that is what you share with the world. And, you know, you have to create for you. That's the special thing. That's when you birth these nuggets of gold, you know, is when you're playing and you're having fun, or when you're transmuting your emotions. And, you know, when you're, you know, you're upset or you're frustrated and all you have is your pen and your paper, that's when the gold comes, because it's coming from you and for you. And it's in those dark nights of the soul, it's when the most amazing pieces of art are formed, you know, when we're traversing through that darkness on our journeys, you know, through this life. And then when you do share it, everyone can feel it, and everyone's like, oh my god, you know, where did this come from? And it's like, you know, my blood, sweat and tears, that's where this came from. You know, everybody can feel that. Or equally, you know, they can feel the joy, they can feel the joy and the playfulness. And, you know, I feel like science is just catching on to truly how powerful our emotions are, you know. So let them be your navigators to like sail you through your years on this earth, because they always fare as well. You know, when we listen to our emotions, when we listen to our intuition, nothing ever really goes wrong. So yeah, so then kind of moving on to protecting our own creative artistry. So yeah, kind of what I touched on in the previous section is like, all of this has to be for you. Otherwise, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point if we're not living for ourselves. You know, that's the beautiful thing. When we live for ourselves, it automatically has this positive impact on the world around us. So, you know, don't be afraid to put yourself first. Don't be afraid to take breaks as well. Sometimes we fear as artists that, you know, we have to keep this momentum going or we'll lose out on opportunities. And you know, for me, I just took this 10-month break because I wanted to travel, and I had such bad burnout, as I was saying to Maureen at the start. You know, I was sick of, I was literally sick of performing. I was like, I don't want to go on a stage ever again. That's how I felt. You know, I've literally just come back from this break and I've had some of the biggest opportunities that I've had thus far in my career. And so it's like, you know, what's for you, it won't go by you. And you have to honor that need for the need and the requirement for rest. It's like when your body is sending you those signs that you need to rest, then rest, because otherwise you will pay for it later, you know, and it can end up with you falling out of love with your craft, you know, and you know, just ending up like resenting what you're doing because you're not honoring your boundaries. And so, and you know, things sort of related to that is a lot of people say to writers, or a lot of writers say, you know, write every day, and maybe that works for some people. But for me, you know, the majority of the time I was away, I wasn't writing. I literally didn't write. I had no interest in writing anything. And, you know, I was just living, I was just being, I was just enjoying life and exploring. And it wasn't until recently just this huge creative flow came through me again. And I literally, it was like I just had to write. Like there was nothing I could do to stop that flow. I just had to express. And, you know, it was incredible how much my voice and my writing had just transformed. And it was like I was compiling everything I'd experienced over those past 10 months into these new pieces of art. And so, you know, some people respond well to that rigidity and that structure, and others need a more fluid approach. And so it's really about getting in touch with what works for you and believing in yourself and believing in your capabilities, and you know, asking those questions like, am I someone that responds well to routine? Am I someone that needs fluidity and that motion to be able to traverse my inner world, you know, and pull something out? And you'll know what works for you. You know, nobody else can give you that. Is self exploration. That, you know, in self exploration you will find your answers to that, and it's all just trial and error. And that was another thing that I wanted to touch on, is like, of course, take your work seriously, but don't let it consume you. You know, you always have the option to distance yourself and to take a bird's eye view with things. It's like, you know, whenever I find myself just getting overly consumed with a poem or whatever it is, it's like, just like take a step back. Like your whole life doesn't rest upon this, you know, just yeah, really being able to step away from the tunnel vision is just so important, and to be able to alter your perspective like that. And then really the last thing that I wanted to touch on is imposter syndrome. And it happens to everyone, and often if you come from a certain type of background or ethnic group, you know, you can sometimes experience it. I don't want to say experience it more, but you know, the fact is it can happen to anyone. And you know, it happened to me today, and really I tried to use it as this opportunity to just delve a little deeper, to explore why I'm feeling triggered in this way. You know, is it from childhood? Is it from something I saw online? You know, how am I going to manage this? Because I don't feel like imposter syndrome ever fully goes away, because then you get more opportunity. So you get more opportunities, bigger opportunities. The imposter syndrome has more opportunity to grow, you know. But it's about the tools you use to manage that. How do you manage that voice in your head? And you know, just like everything, it's this deeply personal journey, and you have to work out the parameters and the boundaries for your own existence, and you know, start asking questions. You know, self-inquiry is just like the most powerful tool for any human, for any artist. You know, it's imperative that you come to know yourself and to continually be on that road to learning more about who you are. And that's you know, to my mind, what a great artist is someone who's always asking questions and has this desire to evolve and to grow and to learn more about the world around them. So thank you so much for listening to my talk today, and I suppose I'll hand over to Maureen. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that amazing talk, Court. That was so Amazing.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so
You
much.
you said so many things that resonated with me, especially, not fitting in school, and be like making art when you're in a dark place, and also imposter syndrome. And everyone in the audience right now are all Black women, and I'm sure we've all experienced imposter syndrome. I think you made an amazing talk, and I think I'm obliged to say this because otherwise John might be very mad at me. So I'm just gonna say what Hidden Voices is. Hidden Voices is a short program consisting of 5 free online educational workshops aimed at emerging talents from minority backgrounds in Scotland. We will also offer attendees one of 2 fully paid week-long internships at some of the most prestigious production companies in Scotland: Today, LS Films, and Create Anything. And the workshops will cover different topics. And yeah, I mean, I've talked about Courtney's accolades in the beginning, but let me just get into the specifics, because y'all need to know, like, this girl, she's really the moment. So she's written for Black Ballad, Gal-Dem, performed in a number of theatrical productions. Oh, I think we've got a question. It was a kick in the bum to start doing poetry again. So I think Ose also does poetry. Ose, do you have any questions for in fact, does anyone have any questions for Courtney about poetry, the creative process, all that sort of thing? They might be busy typing away. Yes, Osei, don't stop writing. Keep writing. Your pen game is important. Keep at it. I've got a question very quickly for Courtney. So because a lot of creative people, they tend to make the best art when they're in like their lowest places. And for example, this might be a little bit of a silly comparison, but a lot of rappers such as Chance the Rapper, Lil Wayne, um, when they're making arguably their best art, that's when they're in like the midst of like, drug addiction, and that's when they were like really like sort of struggling with their mental health. And some artists that I know don't want to be on antidepressants because they feel as though it's going to stifle their creativity. So how do you strike a balance between being well adjusted and sane and making amazing art?
It's such a good question. I wish I knew the answer. I wish I knew the answer. I feel like life is a series of ups and downs and challenges. There's nobody on earth that has just a plain sailing existence. It doesn't happen, because we all have to deal with death and upset, and life just throws these things at you. And so I feel like every day is a challenge to learn how to manage that better. And it's just about what works for you. You have to just, like I was kind of saying in the talk, is like, put yourself first. It's like, if you have to use some form of medication or whatever it is in your or maybe writing is your therapy, is your medication. And I feel like as well, it's like, sometimes we have to go through those dark times. That's like our initiations into life, into this amazing universe that we exist in. It's like, yeah, we have to, you have to spend that time in those liminal spaces where you're like, I don't know where I'm going, and I feel like shit every day. Sometimes you have to go through that, and you come out of it so much stronger, with so much more resilience. And I think sometimes we have a fear of going into that darkness. We have a fear of letting it just take over us and going, I feel terrible right now. It's like sometimes the resistance to it and the fighting it is what causes it to proliferate and continue more. Whereas if we just allow it, we surrender, we deeply, deeply surrender to it. That's when the next day we wake up and we're like, life's not so bad. And I feel like as an artist, that's what you do, is it's all about surrender. Do you know what I mean? You have to just do that over and over again. And yeah, that's part of life. So
It's so
yeah.
true. No, because one of my friends here, Florette, she says like a phrase that I always say to myself: it is what it is.
Yeah.
As you said, just accepting it,
Yeah.
embracing it, and just moving through it.
Yes. everything's temporary. Nothing is permanent, you know. It's just hard when we see it like that. And we see, you know, but it's like just go with it, just bathe in it, bask in it, and you know, you will move through it, you know, with greater ease than if you resist it, you know.
Exactly. I think that's an amazing message to send. And just gonna ask the floor, do y'all have any more questions for Courtney? No? Well, Courtney, thank you so much for talking to us. That was a phenomenal talk, and I'm being so genuine because yeah, I'm being so genuine when I say that. That was phenomenal. It really like touched me, and I'm sure it touched a lot of people here, especially the subject matters that you talked about.
I have a question.
Oh,
Claire has a
say.
question. Yeah, my microphone kept rejecting me. I was like, okay, what do you do when, let's say, you want to write or you want to do something productive, not productive, creative, but it's like no matter what you try, you have like artist block, or it's like you just can't do it. You're like artist block. Yeah.
When you what? Repeat that last bit again, sorry.
What do you do when you have artist block?
Oh, you know what? Thanks for saying that, because I actually meant to put in a part about writer's block and I completely forgot. So I'm so glad you said that. You know what? Controversial opinion, I don't believe in writer's block. I think if you're not writing, it's because you're not meant to be. You're meant to be doing something else. Like, you know, I think I mentioned it's like for those 10 months I was traveling, I didn't write. And I could have seen that as I had writer's block. But actually, I was just intaking from the world around me. And then when I was ready, all of a sudden I just started writing again. You know, it's again just about that surrender. It's like, you know, when we're resisting and we're going, I can't write and I want to write. And, you know, it's like, let it go. Just let it go. Just be like, you know what? I'm not writing right now. And it's because I'm not meant to be. Just trusting in that deeper part of the process and going, okay, it's fine. I don't need to write right now. You know, I can just relax. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll be like, oh my God, I've got this amazing idea for this poem or whatever it is. You know, I've got this amazing thing that I need to do. And it'll just come out of nowhere. You know, it's just trusting you know, our deep subconscious processes. If you're not outputting, it's because you're intaking. So trust in that, you know, and then before you know it, you'll be writing again and you'll be like, what even was that? What even was that time? Can't even remember, you know? So I hope that helps.
It's a brilliant answer. Yeah, Florette, I think Florette was the one that asked that. She's a phenomenal writer. So I think that answer will really like sort of help people realize you don't have to be productive all the time.
No,
Like
it's
being
a lie.
exactly, that it's a capitalistic indoctrination thing that really just causes people to be depressed for no reason. Oh, if I'm not being optimal 100% of the time, I'm a waste of space and I'm lazy and I'm good for that. No, as you said, just existing and just like allowing all the different experiences to just come into you like passively is just as important as being active. So I think that's a great point to say, especially to artists. Don't feel guilty for taking breaks.
It's just as important. I love that you said that. It's just as important. You know, when you're producing to when you're into is equally valuable. Equally valuable.
Yin and yang. Exactly.
Yin and yang. Exactly.
Does anyone else have any more questions for Courtney? Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you so much, Courtney. Courtney, do you have any projects that you want to talk about to the audience?
No, I mean, just this BBC thing I've got coming out sometime. I think it's 22nd of October. They just announced it today. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Be on the radio and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's it. That's it from me.
Okay, that's amazing. Guys, y'all best to watch that, okay? Y'all best watch it. And you can find Courtney in, is it I Am a Poetica?
Oh, so it's just Ama Poetica, AMA. I can put it in the chat.
Ama Poetica, that's how you can find Courtney and look at more of her work, because her work is fucking phenomenal. Sorry for swearing. I probably shouldn't swear in this recording, but it's phenomenal. We'll just beep that in the edit. And yeah, Courtney's amazing. Thank you so much for agreeing to this. And I'm gonna let y'all have a great rest of your Wednesday evening.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Take
Bye,
care,
guys.
everyone.